news for this hour on VTV News. National Assembly convenes 8th extraordinary session. And the World Bank upgrade Vietnam's growth forecast. In war news, Israel and Hamas failed to agree on Gaza ceasefire.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello, it's 3 p.m. local time in Hanoi. You're watching VTV News. The 15th National Assembly convened its 8th extraordinary session in Hanoi on August 26 to address personnel work. During this one-day session, the legislature will discuss the removal of the Chief Justice of the Supreme People Court and the Prosecutor General of the Supreme People Procuracy, who are about to take on new duties. The Assembly will also approve the removal of one Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Justice for reassignment, as well as another Deputy Prime Minister and the Minister of Natural Resources and Environment from their current positions. Additionally, one member of the 15th National Assembly will be dismissed. National Assembly Chairman Trần Thanh Mẫn urged deputies to champion democracies, maintain a strong sense of responsibility, and meticulously review personnel decisions to ensure that the process adheres strictly to the party's regulations and state laws, fostering a high level of consensus and unity. Vietnam's economic outlook is positive, with GDP growth exceeding 6% this year and 6.5% in the next 2 years. The World Bank announced this forecast on Monday morning based on Vietnam's strong growth in the first half of the year. The most notable aspect of Vietnam's recent economic performance is the increase in industrial production's output, which accounts for a quarter of GDP growth. This growth is also proportional to the recovery of processed and manufactured goods exports. Trade growth also contributes to the gradual revival of domestic demand, including investment, services, and consumption. Consequently, domestic demand is expected to improve further in the second half of this year, driven by enhanced investor and consumer confidence. The World Bank also emphasized that credit growth has shown only slight improvement. As a result, priority measures are necessary to ensure the development of a safe, effective, and healthy capital market. According to the latest preliminary statistic from the General Department of Customs, the total value of Vietnam's import and export of goods in the first half of August 2024 reached $32.93 billion. This result brought the total value of the country's import and export up to August 15 to $473.33 billion. Thus, from the beginning of the year to August 15, Vietnam achieved a trade surplus of $15.49 billion. Vietnam and China recently signed a protocol regarding inspections, quarantine, and food safety for frozen durian exports. This marked a significant growth opportunity for Vietnam's durian industry. Currently, only 60% of fresh durian meet export standards. As a result, many companies have invested in facilities to process the remaining 40% and boost the export value of this product.
During peak harvest season, this durian segmenting and freezing production line eases market consumption concerns and reduces seasonal pressure. It also preserves the export value of durians that don't meet fresh export standards. The frozen durians are peeled, sorted by quality, and prepared for export.
We export frozen durians to markets that haven't approved fresh durian exports. The durians are frozen whole, in segments, and as instant products. Frozen products can be sold year-round.
Currently, about 60 enterprises have invested in freezing technology specifically for exporting durian to distant markets. Official approval for export to China is expected to increase the value of Vietnam's durian industry to a forecasted $3.5 billion this year.
The input cost of these durians is very low, but after careful selection and processing, the price increases significantly. The company meticulously categorizes them into levels A and B for export to China.
Daklak's durian output is substantial, with fresh fruit alone reaching millions of tons in recent years. The introduction of frozen durian will therefore provide even more growth opportunities.
Freeze-drying technology increases durian's value by tenfold, reaching up to $120 per kilogram. This method extends shelf life, allowing the sale of durians that meet quality standards.
Dried durians have a shelf life of 24 to 36 months, so the prices can remain stable. There are concerns about fresh durians going bad or fluctuating demand, but the company can estimate output for dried durians all year round and does not have to rely on the harvest time.
With the upcoming harvest estimated to yield millions of tons, investing in the advanced processing of durians is crucial. This approach serves as a gateway to expand export markets and maintain Vietnam's leading position in durian exports.
Durian exports in the first 7 months of the year reached $1.7 billion, a 45% increase over the same period last year. The Central Highlands durian harvest is underway, presenting a significant opportunity to affirm its positions in the Chinese market. The Vietnam Fruit and Vegetable Association predicts that durian export this year could hit $3 billion. Vietnam is also expanding its market beyond China to include India and other Asian countries. For sustainable development, it's necessary to establish standards for post-harvest processing and preservation. At the same time, strengthening quality control and expanding growing area codes are essential. Exporting frozen durian to China will help diversify products and reduce seasonal pressures. This year, National Day holidays falls on weekend, giving most workers 3 to 4 days break. Occurring just before the new school year, this extended holiday is expected to spark a surge in travel and leisure activities. As such, passenger transport companies have developed thorough plans to handle the increased travel demand while ensuring public safety and maintaining traffic order.
To meet rising demand, this bus service provider has ensured a sufficient number of vehicles while focusing on passenger safety. The company has established a traffic safety department to monitor drivers throughout their trips.
If the company detects any speeding violations, the driver will receive an immediate warning call. Then the driver's name, vehicle plate number, time and location of the violation will be reported to management for appropriate fines.
According to Hanoi Bus Station Joint Stock Company, 700 additional buses will be deployed during the peak National Day holiday period. Strict supervision of transport regulations will be enforced, with a zero-tolerance policy for overloading, speeding, or operating without proper or valid documentation.
Companies are required to thoroughly inspect the quality of both vehicles and drivers. Vehicles must meet all functional requirements for passenger transportation. There should be an adequate number of drivers in good health to provide services.
In the aviation sector, Vietnamese airlines have reported operating over 4,250 flights from August 30th to September 3rd, averaging 840 flights per day. To ensure flight safety during the holiday, the Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam has raised the security level to level 1.
All backup batteries and chargers must be checked thoroughly, especially expired ones, to avoid any issues.
During the 4-day holiday, traffic police and inspectors will step up patrols and crack down on common traffic violations that often lead to accidents.
Individuals and business owners with tax debt may be banned from leaving the country. This proposal, part of the draft revised law on tax administration, aimed to expand the scope of temporary exit suspension by the Ministry of Finance. Temporary exit suspension is one of the debt enforcement measures applied by the tax sector in cases of procrastination, side of asset dissipation, and absconding. Currently, regulations don't specify a debt threshold for these enforcement measures, meaning that even overdue tax debt of $1 Vietnam đồng must be forcibly recovered. tax authorities leaders affirmed that the decision to temporarily suspend access follow a strict process, considering each case records. According to the Ministry of Finance, the country currently has about 5.5 million business households, of which about 3.5 million have been granted tax codes. And before moving on to some of the news, let's take a look at foreign exchange rate for today, August 26th. Coming up next on VTV News, Vietnam actively contributes to UN peacekeeping operations. And Vietnamese Phie goes global. Over the past decade, Vietnamese Blue Berets have actively participated in United Nations peacekeeping missions. They have engaged in various humanitarian activities, from constructing schools and clinics to distributing free medicine. In countries facing complex political situations and challenging living conditions, their compassion and dedications have left a positive impression of Uncle Ho soldiers on the international community.
Senior Colonel Mac Đức Trọng was one of the first 2 officers of the Vietnam's People's Army to be deployed to South Sudan as a UN peacekeeping liaison officer. He was a pioneer in Vietnam's participation in international missions. From building and renovating dozens of major roads spanning hundreds of kilometers and rescuing vehicles stuck in the mud, to building houses, schools, and hospitals.
We've deployed practical programs to help the locals, driven by the heartfelt compassion of Uncle Ho's soldiers. All these efforts have helped to shape a positive image of peacekeeping forces in the minds of the local residents, fostering the belief that peacekeepers bring peace, security, and unity among people.
Lieutenant Colonel Nguyễn Thị Hồng Quyên is back working at the Military Hospital 5 after 15 months of performing UN tasks as a military medic in Engineering Rotation 1. Caring for her comrades and treating local people during those days were unforgettable memories for her. Despite the harsh conditions, dangers, and hardships, the resilient Vietnamese Blue Berets remain undeterred.
Recognizing the tasks assigned by the party, state, and army, we are highly determined and proactive in overcoming all difficulties to complete them. We also engage in activities supporting local residents, thereby promoting a positive image of the Vietnamese people and Uncle Ho's soldiers.
Over the past 10 years, Vietnam's contribution to United Nations peacekeeping missions has grown significantly. Throughout this period, the Vietnam People's Army has consistently demonstrated strong political resolve, excellent professional competence, and unwavering determination to fulfill all missions in UN peacekeeping operations.
The Vietnam People's Army came here to help us. They are all enthusiastic and friendly, as we hoped. We love them very much.
Our active participation in UN peacekeeping operations has helped affirm the standing and strength of the country, strongly and widely promote a message of a peace-loving, humane, justice, righteousness, and law-upholding country. In the far-off and artist land of Africa, the soldiers cherish image of the national flags as a symbol of peace and solidarity.
The party and state have always paid great attention to and shown special affection for the development and stability of people in the Central Highlands. As a result, people lived in Ia Súp district, Đắk Lắk province have improved in recent years. After more than 20 years in its establishment, the Ia Súp border area has become a safe haven for tens of thousands of people to settle down, contributing to the building of increasingly strong national defense economic zone.
This is a typical day in the jackfruit gardens of Ia Súp district, Đắk Lắk's border area. Over the past 4 years,
ethnic people familiar with traditional farming methods have transitioned to high-tech agricultural production.
Since the Military Economic Group, number 737, cooperated with businesses to launch a high-tech jackfruit project here, people have secured stable jobs.
Farming was once believed impossible during both dry and flood seasons. Few people imagined it could host a vast cocoa plantation spanning over 250 hectares.
In the past, farming here was very difficult. This model has helped improve our income and stabilized our lives.
Determined to transform the harsh land of one of the country's poorest regions, officers and soldiers of the National Defense Economic Group, number 737, have cooperated with businesses to test new crops.
Through experimental models, we have attracted non-state investment capital to invest in the National Defense Economic Zone. This model helps improve the ecological environment and changes habits, ultimately eliminating hunger and reducing poverty.
Agricultural products from this region are now being exported to other countries and are gradually gaining access to the most demanding markets in Europe and Japan. As a result, life in this border area has stabilized, and the relationship between the people and soldiers has been strengthened.
On Sunday night, the opening ceremony of the 100-year Wax Coconut Tree Festival took place in Cầu Kè District, Chà Province. Wax coconuts first appeared in Cầu Kè exactly a century ago. Thanks to favorable soil conditions, the wax coconut area has expanded over 1,200 hectares, producing more than 3,000 fruits annually. Currently, wax coconuts are processed into over 10 product lines, including 5-star OCOP products. These products are exported worldwide to countries such as the United States, Japan, EU members, and Canada, accounting for 1/5 of Chà Province's total coconut processing industry. A new waste collection program has been launched in Phú Quốc Islands. This initiative is a partnership between local authorities in Dương Đông Ward, Phú Quốc City, and the World Wildlife Fund. The initiative aims to centralize waste collections and encourage residents to dispose of waste properly, thereby improving the island's environment.
The 200-meter riverbank, home to 45 households, has faced a significant waste problem. Due to the absence of garbage collection services from urban environmental units, locals resorted to dumping waste, particularly plastic, into the river. With the new waste collection program, nearly 100 kilograms of waste is collected daily, with plastic waste accounting for about 10% of the total.
The program helps to improve the city's garbage collection efforts, thereby reducing the amount of plastic waste.
In addition, youth and volunteers from Phú Quốc Clean and Green Club also eagerly participate in this activity.
It helps encourage the locals and young volunteers to protect the environment, reducing waste dumped into the river.
I hope that people around here will protect the clean environment.
We call for all residents to participate in environmental protection activities and proper waste disposal.
Neighborhoods 6, 7, and 8 in Dương Đông Ward were once problematic areas for waste management. However, starting Monday, a garbage truck from the Phú Quốc City Urban Management Board will collect their waste daily.
The International Union of Geological Sciences have recognized Hạ Long Bay, Cát Bà Archipelago, located in Quảng Ninh Province and Hải Phòng City, as a World Geological Heritage Site. These areas include small stages of marine submergence in tropical karst and feature 3 main types of caves: ancient marine frog jaw caves, ancient karst caves, and frog jaw caves. Hạ Long Bay represent the latter stages and marine submersions, while Cát Bà Archipelago are significant geological value through its terrestrial and intertidal patterns. The unique geological and geomorphological features of Hạ Long Bay, Cát Bà Archipelago are the result of the regional tectonic movement that lasted over 500 million years. In 2007, pho officially became a proper noun in the prestigious Oxford English Dictionary. This Vietnamese dish has consistently been featured in various culinary rankings such as CNN's World's 50 Best Foods and Business Insider list of 40 meals you should eat in your lifetime. Additionally, the Japan Anniversary Association has registered an official day of pho in Osaka to honor this distinct dish.
During winter in Rovaniemi, Finland, despite the frigid temperatures outside, the atmosphere inside this Vietnamese restaurant is warm and inviting. The steam rising from the bone broth, the aroma of cinnamon and star anise mingling with the spicy kick of chili and lime all contribute to the authentic taste of Vietnamese pho.
Yes, this is really good soup, full soup.
It's really good, and I really like spicy food. The chili's good, that's why everything's perfect here.
It is very difficult to find ingredients for pho, especially beef bone marrow, but the restaurant does its best to include all the original ingredients.
In the United States, pho is often the first thing that comes to mind when Vietnam is mentioned. This dish has made its way into American dictionaries and is now available in nearly every city across the country.
It's Vietnam. It's like, that's Vietnamese, that's very specific to Vietnam. This is, all the traditional Hanoi houses on the walls, and it's great. It's a great atmosphere.
Maintaining the authentic flavor of pho as prepared in Vietnam remains the key to its global success and popularity.
Coming up next in our World News, Israel and Hamas failed to agree on Gaza ceasefires. And Bank of China president resigned. The Gaza ceasefire talks in Cairo on Sunday ended without an agreement. Neither Hamas nor Israel accepted the compromises presented by the mediators. Delegation from both Hamas and Israel left Cairo on the same day after meeting with Egyptian and Qatari mediators. Hamas rejected discussions about the new conditions proposed by Israel during the talks. Meanwhile, Israel remains firm in its decision to maintain a military presence in the Philadelphia corridor along the Egypt-Gaza border, a major point of contention in the ceasefire negotiations. The failure to reach a ceasefire agreement has raised concern in the international community about an escalating situation in the Middle East. At the same time, the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah has intensified, with the Sunday mutual attacks being the largest in scale since October of last year. 25,100 vials of the polio vaccine for Gaza Strip residents arrived at the Kerem Shalom crossing in the southern Israel on Sunday. This move follows Gaza's first recorded polio case in 25 years last week. This has prompted health workers and aid agencies to race to carry out mass vaccinations in the Palestinian territory. Under the UN plan, over 2,000 health workers will join the World Health Organization in overseeing the vaccination for about 95% of children under 10 in the Gaza Strip with 2 doses of polio vaccine. Polio virus, which is most often spread through sewage and contaminated water, is highly infectious. It mainly affects children under the age of 5. Polio virus can cause disfigurement and paralysis and is potentially fatal. Bank of China Vice Chairman and President Liu Jin has resigned for personal reasons. The decision takes effect on Sunday. Before taking up his post as governor of the central bank, Liu, aged 57, held senior roles at major Chinese banks, including the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China and China Development Bank. Liu Jin's move followed the departure of former central bank governor Liu Linge, who resigned in February last year. Liu Linge was investigated by the corruption campaign before admitting to taking more than $17 million in bribes. Australia on Monday gave millions of workers the legal right to disconnect. This new rule allows them to ignore unreasonable out-of-hours contacts for employer, to the distress of big industry. More to follow.
People can now refuse to monitor, read, or respond to their employer's attempts to contact them outside work hours, unless that refusal is deemed unreasonable. Supporters say the law gives workers the confidence to stand up against the steady invasion of their personal life by work emails, texts, and calls, a trend that's accelerated since the pandemic scrambled the division between home and work.
Having these laws come into place where, we really do disconnect is really important, especially like in my life where I have external clients who need to get a hold of me. We don't always have the same working hours.
Australians worked on average 281 hours of unpaid overtime last year, according to a survey last year by the Australia Institute. The changes adds Australia to a group of roughly 24 countries, mostly in Europe and Latin America, which have similar laws.
It'll take a bit of getting used to and working out how to put it in place in different workplaces. And if it leads to conversations in workplaces or collective negotiations and discussions about what's okay and what's not okay, so that everybody gets in on the same page in terms of what's reasonable.
To cater for emergencies and jobs with irregular hours, the rule still allows employers to contact their workers. Determining whether a refusal is reasonable will be up to Australia's industrial umpire, which must take into account their role, personal circumstances, and how and why the contact was made. It has the power to issue cease and desist orders and, failing that, levy fines of up to $13,000 for an employee or $64,000 for a company.
And now, as usual, let's continue with the weather forecast. That's all the news for today. To watch our program, you can log on to VTVgo.vn or download our mobile application VTVgo. Thanks for watching and goodbye for now.